Welcome to Chrono Wheels. Look, we need to talk about something Yamaha just unleashed because it's not just a new bike, it's a statement. A massive, carbon fiber wrapped, electronically genius statement aimed right at the heart of what we think a middleweight track bike should be. The standard Yamaha R7 was brilliant in its own right. It was the everyman's track tool, proving that you could have a riot without the terror and expense of a leader bike. But for those of us who live for lap times, who feel that itch for something sharper, more focused, more uncompromising, the R7 always felt like it had another level hidden inside. Turns out, we were right. Meet the 2025 Yamaha R7M Concept, and let's be clear from the start. The word concept here is almost a lie. This is a fully realized, factory-built race weapon that just redrew the boundary lines for the entire middleweight class. Let's start where every great motorcycle starts, the engine. Yamaha's masterstroke was leaving the soul of the bike perfectly intact. The 689cc CP2 parallel twin remains, and thank goodness for that. In a world chasing peak horsepower numbers on spec sheets, the CP2's magic is in its character. That 270-degree crankshaft gives it a lumpy, visceral pulse that feels more like a big V-twin than a sanitized inline. It's not about the top-end scream. It's about the instant massive wall of torque that hits the moment you twist your wrist. It's an engine you ride by feel, not by the tachometer, and on a technical track that often makes you faster than a peaky, high-strung motor you can only use on the straights. But for the R7M, they didn't just leave it alone, they gave it a full race prep session. We're talking lightweight internals for quicker revving, a high-flow airbox for a hungrier breath, and a full titanium exhaust system. The goal isn't a staggering power increase. Maybe we're looking at a bump to around 74 or 75 horsepower, but a transformation in response and feel. Sharper throttle connection, a wider, more flexible power band, and that addictive, snarling exhaust note turned up to a shout. They've taken the raw, emotional heart of the R7 and honed it into a precision instrument. Now, an engine that good deserves a chassis that can keep up, and this is where the R7M stops playing nice and starts showing its true intent. The steel frame is heavily reinforced, specifically around the headstock and the swing arm pivot. Why this obsession with rigidity? Because this bike's party trick is its semi-active suspension, and for that electronics brain to work its magic, it needs a perfectly stable, undistorted signal from the wheels. A flexing frame is like static on a phone line. The R7M's frame is built to be a silent, rigid conduit between you and the asphalt. Then, in a relentless hunt for weight savings, they've draped it in full carbon fiber bodywork and a carbon subframe. This isn't just for that menacing prototype racer look, though it absolutely delivers that. It's about shedding every single gram possible. The target wet weight is rumored to be around 185 kilograms. That's astonishingly light. This translates to a bike that won't just lean into a corner, it'll snap into it with a thought, changing direction with an agility that heavier bikes can only dream of. And that brings us to the crown jewel, the single biggest reason the R7M exists, the suspension. Forget everything you know about adjusting clickers in the pits. The R7M is fitted with the full Öhlins Smart EC 3.0 semi-active suspension system. This is a legitimate game changer. This is technology that was, until very recently, the exclusive and extremely expensive domain of flagship superbikes. Here's how it works. A 6-axis inertial measurement unit, IMU, constantly reads the bike's lean angle, pitch, roll, and acceleration forces. 1,000 times a second, it feeds that data to the suspension computers, which instantly adjust the damping. Braking hard into a bumpy corner? The forks stiffen in milliseconds to keep the chassis settled. Picking the bike up on the exit over rough pavement? The rear shock controls the squat to keep the tire planted. It's constantly, silently optimizing the contact patch for maximum grip. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a force multiplier. It builds confidence, allows for more aggressive riding, and can make a skilled rider phenomenally fast and consistent. It is, quite simply, the most significant performance feature on the bike. Of course, you need to stop as well as you go, so Yamaha equipped the R7M with Brembo's absolute top-shelf Stylema monoblock calipers, the same hardware you'll find on a Ducati Panigale V4S, biting on large discs, all controlled by a radial master cylinder for that perfect, communicative lever feel. The brakes are simply overkill in the best possible way. The ergonomics are pure race spec. Lower clip-ons, higher rear sets, a tank sculpted to lock your body in place. Every detail reinforces the message: this is a single-purpose machine. Orchestrating all this is a full suite of IMU-driven electronics. Lean angle-sensitive traction control, slide control, engine braking management, and multiple riding modes, including a dedicated wet mode, are all at your fingertips. You can dial in a safety net that lets you exploit the CP2's torque with confidence, or you can turn it all off and test your mettle. It makes the R7M incredibly adaptable, a bike that can be tuned from a forgiving coach to a raw challenge based on your skill and the track conditions. So the inevitable burning question: what's the price of admission to this middleweight paradise? We're looking at a projected MSRP of $17,999. Let's pause here and be absolutely real. That is a colossal amount of money for a 700cc twin-cylinder motorcycle. For that price, you can walk into a dealership and buy a base model Yamaha R1, a literal leader bike with nearly twice the horsepower. You could build a fully sorted, race-ready 600cc Supersport. The price tag forces a brutal and fascinating calculation. Here's my take on what you're actually buying. You are not purchasing an engine with the R7M. You are investing in a philosophy. The philosophy that, on a real-world technical racetrack, the ultimate tool isn't necessarily the one with the most brute force, but the one with the most intelligence, agility, and precision. It's the slow bike fast mantra taken to its absolute technological extreme. The R7M is for the rider who is a student of cornering, who believes in momentum and line, and who wants the absolute cutting edge of rider aid technology in a package that is light, flickable, and perpetually engaging. It's a middleweight that thinks and reacts like a superb bike. It presents us with the most interesting choice in motorcycling right now. Do you choose the raw, intimidating straight-line power of a leader bike, which can be a handful on tighter circuits? Or do you choose the scalpel-like precision and electronic brilliance of the R7M, which might give up a few mph on the main straight, but will absolutely destroy everything in the infield? Yamaha is betting that for more and more riders, the scalpel is the smarter, faster, and ultimately more rewarding weapon. What do you think? Is the R7M's high-tech, torque-focused approach the true future of track riding? Or does it overcomplicate the pure, simple thrill of a middleweight? Can that wonderful CP2 twin, with all this electronic help, really stay with a modern 600cc inline-4 on a track with a long back straight? And most importantly, at nearly $18,000, does this bike represent a worthy peak of technology, or has Yamaha priced it into a fantasy land? I want your real, unfiltered opinions in the comments. If you're into these deep dives on the machines that shape riding, then subscribe to Chrono Wheels. We're here to talk about what these bikes mean, not just what they are. Thanks for watching.